Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some of the stocks on the move today in Europe. We've got our breaking news editor Louise Moon with us for that. I'm Stephen Carroll, joined by Lizzie Burden. Louise, let's start with Lloyds, saying it'll set aside another £800 million in compensation for motor finance claims. Tell us more.
Indeed, yeah. So it's laid out this morning the exact additional amount that it's going to take. So it had already set aside over £1 billion, so £1.15 billion. And then last week, following the FCA's ruling, last week they said there would be another provision, and that would be what they called material at the time. So markets were reacting to that last week, and then this morning they've said how much it is. So it's going to be another 800. Shares did rise into the green after that. As I say, they had already warned it would be material. And then there was an interesting note actually this morning from Bloomberg Intelligence saying that they think that this additional amount won't derail their shareholder distribution plan. So this is obviously a positive, and that total provisions were kind of largely in line with the general consensus from the bank. So it seems that the bad news has already kind of been priced in, and shares are actually rising this morning despite that additional £800 million provision.
And meanwhile, Louise, we've got Blackstone weighing a bid for Big Yellow Group.
Indeed, yeah. This is the self-storage company landlord across the UK. Big name. You'll see there are big billboards everywhere. So Blackstone is in the early stages of mulling a bid. Big Yellow Group has a market cap of about £2 billion. So if a bid comes to light, it could be quite sizable. They say they're considering the macro environment, the potential impact of the UK budget and what that will mean for the wider space. But shares of Big Yellow Group really rising on this, up about 20%, so the most on record this morning. And this isn't the first deal that Blackstone has been making or is making in the space. They bought Warehouse REIT earlier this year, and then this morning Blackstone Europe also announced they're selling their logistics assets to Tritax Big Box REIT, and that's for just over £1 billion. And then they're going to take a stake in Tritax as a result, and Tritax was also rising on that. So a lot of movement in the landlord space, and Blackstone a big part of that.
Louise, well, we've also been watching AstraZeneca shares this morning as well. Talk us through what's been happening.
So there was news after market close late on Friday that AstraZeneca, the pharma giant listed in London, had made a deal with the Trump administration, and that was to lower some of their prices, their consumer prices on drugs in the US, in exchange for relief on tariffs. So that's for 3 years. So obviously this came after the market close on Friday, so we're getting some market reaction this morning on that. Initially shares were up. Analysts were saying, this will likely provide some relief. It's quite a similar deal to an earlier one that Pfizer did, one of their peers, and it shows kind of a willingness from the US to preserve sector fundamentals. So shares were initially rising. They are now trading slightly lower. There's a lot of uncertainty essentially around in the sector, and also AstraZeneca, and it's been kind of battering their share prices over the past year or so to do with pricing, to do with tariffs. It's been a big overhang. So potentially some of that uncertainty is still there, but we'll be keeping an eye on their share price through the day.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.